Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to my presentation on the first lecture of Fundamentals of C++ Programming. My name is Murtaza, and I'm going to be your tutor in this Fundamentals of C++ Programming. The structure of the course is we are going to have lectures, pre-recorded lectures. You first watch the lectures, and then we will have a Q&A session where basically we will solve your problems and answer your questions. It should also be recorded and will be shared with you. The content of this course is we are going to talk about the fundamentals of C++ programming. Basically, we are going to talk about terminologies, how we define, declare variables in functions, how we use standard library, how to use statements, like conditional statements, loop statements, how we are going to use CMake and Visual Studio later. And each lecture will have an example and an assignment, exercise that you will do, and examples will be solved here, be done here in the lecture, and then you will be doing the exercise, and in the Q&A, we will solve your problems. If you have any questions, please, you can also write your questions in the chat. In the Q&A, I will try to answer your questions. First of all, we are going to talk about building blocks of C++. Like every language, such as very basic language, we use, for example, English. We have letters, we have words, and we combine words to make statements. We have different types of statements. Then we use these statements to make paragraphs, and these paragraphs combined together will make an essay or a passage. Like this language, the C++ programming is also is built upon building blocks, which are strings with the simple, you see, pointers, the star. We also have variables, particularly with mathematical relationships. We define functions. Each function may have one or multiple variables. So the variables are the very basics. We also have data types. Type integer, we can define it earlier. Can declare doubles if we have decimal numbers. If we have Boolean operations such as true or false, we use bool. We can define as words with the char variable. If you want to write comments for a single line, we use double slash. For multi-line of comments, we can write /star. And there are also operations or operators. We have arithmetic operators, such as plus, minus, multipliers, divisions. And also we have comparison operators, such as bigger, equal, small or unequal, bigger and equal, smaller and equal. We also may have logical, such as or, the symbol double yeah, and also have and, for example, if you want to combine or not as exclamation marks. We also have assignment operators such as equal, plus equal, minus equal, and many other. We also have increment and decrement operators such as plus plus or minus minus. We will use these operators, these building blocks in our examples. And with these building blocks, we can write lines of codes and algorithms. First, in the introduction or the basics, we need to understand the difference between the computer hardware and software. I believe you know the difference. The hardware are monitors, hard drives, mouse, keyboard, in CPU, as well as we have software components such as operating system of like Windows. And these operating systems are special programs that provide an environment for other programs to run. Any software or program we develop is based on the operating system, and it will be running on the operating system. So these are the main components, and in the computer, the main memory or the RAM and the CPU are very important. CPU can be assumed or compared as the brain, where it computes and performs computations on data stored in the main memory. We also need to understand the binary code or the machine code. The binary code are simple instructions with binary numbers. Simple instructions like yes or no, such as add, subtract, divide. And binary numbers are 0 or 1. We also have other applications, for example, on and off. And a program understood by computer is simply a series of binary numbers. So the central processing unit just does the operations and the calculations based on the program, which will be interpreted by the CPU and translated to binary numbers. And based on that, we also have assembly language, which writes machine code, which translate the code to machine code, because writing a machine code is a very difficult job, and a few people are able to write the machine code. What it does, the assembly language uses English words for instructions, or for example, the word add or move. And then there is a one-to-one map between the machine code and the assembly language. We also have high-level programming languages, and we do the programming using the English language, and the compiler. We may have compiled language and a script language. The compiled language are very fast. We can manage the memory of computer manually. Examples are C++, C, and the code itself is a text file, not readable by the CPU, and a program is implemented by one main function called by operating system, and the code is translated into machine code by the compiler or the translation program. And this process is called the compiling. So we write a script or a code, then the compiler, which translates these English words to binary code, does its job and then the computer understands this, and it just does the operation using the binary code. The code is translated by the machine code to the machine code by translation program. And there are also a scripting language such as MATLAB, but it does the MATLAB is it just uses reads the code, it executes the instruction on the program itself. It doesn't deal with the memory directly. We also need to understand between the compiling and linking. We say that a translation program compiles the code to binary code. The process is that there are in C++, there are header files with HPP signature. We have source files with CPP, and these CPP files include the header files. Why do we have two files? Well, to make things easier, in the header file, we declare the variables. In the source files, we define the variables and the functions. And these two are pre-processed by the translation program or the compiler program. And then this is compiled to binary object or binary file object file, which are 0 and 1. As you see in the bottom left corner, it's a simple code that we will use an example like this in the next in this example in this session. And what it does is that it includes the standard language of C++ as iStream, and it also includes the header files, and it then uses the main function, and it does the operation. We also need to understand the linking. We say that compiling language transforms the C++ and header files to object files. Then there are libraries with .lib, and there are compiled libraries which are developed in advance, and we need to use those libraries for making things easier. The linker gets the binary object files and the compiled libraries, and then it transforms it to an executable, one single executable file. And each source file has an object file, but many source files together have only one main function. And each C++ file introduces one compilation unit, which are compiled separately. I hope you understand these terminologies: the linking, the compilation, hardware and software, building blocks of C++, and then we use these to write our first C++ program. What we do in the program, we include the standard library, we include one main function, and every statement in the C++ file must be ended with a semicolon, and all variables have to have signature and a name. Signature is the type of the variable, such as integer, double, and as we said earlier, and every variable must have a type. the STD itself stands for the standard library, and what it does is that it functions to access all the elements in the standard library. And we also use the console out and console 8 to have entries and outputs. And we also may use comments. We use the tool Visual Studio for writing the C++ code. Community edition is available, and you can download it. And yeah, I hope you download it because we use this for our course. And I will just answer questions related to the Visual Studio. And if you use any other language, it makes class more complicated. Therefore, we recommend you to use the Visual Studio. In our first example, we find the moment of inertia using the Visual Studio, and you will have an exercise. The exercise is that you write a C++ program that calculates the volume of a cylinder with radius r and height h, based on our example that you may have. Okay, we go to I'm going to share with you the Visual Studio. First, I need to open. Okay. This is Visual Studio 2022. You can download Visual Studio 2019 or this version. We can create a new project from here. And we have different languages such as Python, JavaScript, C, and C++. And we use C++. And this is an empty project, and we use the desktop application. This is the first example, example 1. And we are going to have this example in the C++ folder with example 1. So the solution for this is example 1. Once we create, we will have another screen, and this screen pops out, and then you will have example 1 here, and here we will add a new item, which we call example 1 C++, and we add it. This is a C++ file. We can also use a header file to have declaration. So we may have example 1.hpp. So we have header files and source files. And the header file, what we do is we define the declarations. We declare the variables. what we have is we have decimal. Um, uh, this is for calculating moment of inertia. So in moment of inertia, we have weight and we have height of an object as example. And we also may have the moment of inertia itself. So we just declare the variables. In the C++ file, we can include the standard library of C++, and we include the headers which relate to this C++ file as example 1.hpp, and examples HPP, and here we may define as one main function. It's not very complicated question, so we can just solve the problem with one main function. And here what it does is it includes all the variables in this file, in the header file, and use this. First, we use console out as it gets the message into the variables or the inputs. So the user gets the message, and then it basically gets the height, which are inputs, which are basically height and weight. So we say enter the weight. And then using the input function, the user can use this function to write the weight, and the same can be with the height. So we simply copy and paste and change this to the height. And then the program calculate the moment of inertia. In the header file, we can define the moment of inertia. Well, we need to define in the C++ file. The moment of inertia is the height times the weight to the power of 4. So we can have 4 times the weight. So we have here a rate underline, which says that the code is wrong, and divided by 12.0, because these are double and it should be double as well. So the moment of inertia is moment of inertia. We can also end our line of code with this, which is the same as this \n. That's it. Now we run the code. And now you see there is written enter the inputs, enter the weight. This looks strange. I just change a bit. You use the \n, \n, and \n, and run again. So we have the inputs, say weight. For weight, we can have any number like 14.5. And when we enter this, then the program asks to enter the height. For example, we may have 25.6. So the moment of inertia is 94,304.1. We can add a symbol equal here and run the code again. For example, 15, and the height could be 18. So we have the moment of inertia equals to 75,937.5. You can run the code multiple times and get the moment of inertia easily. Here is the communication between you and the computer. It communicates very well. It says here that, for example, there is showing that there is no issues found, 100% correct. So the code is correct. There are 3 lines, and we have these are the characteristics of the code. And here we see that we have both here, and we also have build started at 5:26 p.m. Build started, and project name is example1. Configuration is done in the 64 debug, and the file is example1.cpp, and it's in this folder, and this is succeeded, no failure, and there's nothing escaped, and the build completed at 5:26 and took 0.716 seconds. So you see it's very fast, and it does the calculation very fast. It basically what it does is the C++ that builds up the code on the memory, and therefore each variable we define here has a unique size, which we can define the type of the variables, and also can manually manage the memory. That's all for today, and I hope it is useful for you, and you'll be able to do the exercise. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. Also, you can ask me later in the Q&A. See you on the Q&A, and best of luck.